let's start with this, and then I've got some breaking news on another media outlet that we've been following that's just absolutely disgusting, Michael. But so here we have it. The emotional support governor will sit down with our potential next commander-in-chief for the first interview in 5 weeks since earth-shattering developments have happened in the Democratic race and with respect to the White House, who's ruling the country, how she became the nominee, and what she actually has in store for us if she is to win. What do you make of the plan?
She has to give one interview in the same way that she has to do one debate. But that's it. She's not good at interviews. She's not good at debates. And so the Democrats, the Kamala campaign, are going to give the bare minimum that they have to give to look voters in the face, totally straight-faced, and say, you can vote for me. I am confident. I can do the job. We saw similar criticism of Trump back in the GOP primary, such as it was, that Trump didn't want to engage in a debate. And I always thought the political calculation here was Trump will only do a debate if it benefits him. Trump will only do a debate if there is sufficient political pressure to make him do a debate. Here, the liberals control the entire media establishment. They did the coup that replaced Joe Biden with Kamala Harris. So you're not getting a lot of pressure from the establishment media. Probably she's got to do one. It's really weird if the president of the United States can't conduct one single interview, can't conduct one single debate. But that's it. And so they've rigged the rules to be as favorable to Kamala as they can be, just as they rigged the rules in the ABC debate with Trump to be as favorable to Kamala as they can be. And she'll probably eke it by. She'll say things that are a little odd. She'll contradict herself. She'll do the giggle. It won't be a grand slam for her, but she'll get by, and then the media will move on.
Easily. I think there's not going to be some massive fall down moment. Dana Bash, while definitely more sympathetic to the Democrats, doesn't want to torch her career in this sit down because she understands she's going to have to push back a little. But just to be clear, we're not going in there with somebody who is in any way sympathetic toward Team Trump. Here's just a little example of some of Dana Bash in SOT 5.
This is the kind of thing that is playing out all over conservative media. I just want to do a little bit of record correcting. Harris was put in charge, as you said earlier, of combating the roots of immigration. She was not and is not the borders.
2020. I'm saying even if Joe Biden were not running for president, if he were still a private citizen going off into the sunset, would it be okay for the president of the United States, yes or no, to ask another foreign leader to investigate an American citizen?
You know, I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 24 years. One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
Trump has said repeatedly that he could have gotten the hostages out without giving anything in exchange. What do you say to that? What do you say to President Trump now, former president?
Why didn't he do it when he was president?
Sir, what is
I think that was what they call a mic drop moment at the end there. Why didn't he do it when he was president?
Yeah, Mike. So that's why she was chosen, obviously, Michael.
That's why she was chosen. And this is what makes Kamala's insistence that Walz be present so much more pathetic. You've got a network that is all in for Kamala. You've got an anchor who obviously detests Donald Trump. And even still, Kamala can't handle that kind of an interview. So she's got to tag team it with Tim Walz, who's not exactly a Rhodes Scholar himself, but who is apparently more articulate and coherent and capable than the top of the ticket, Kamala. This should not inspire confidence in the American people. This should not inspire confidence in Kamala's supporters.
It doesn't inspire confidence in me as a woman. I mean, everyone's supposed to be celebrating that she could be our first female president and she can't even do a sit-down interview on her own. I got news for you, Madam Harris. That's not how the presidency is supposed to work. You actually are a single individual imbued with a lot of power. Go read Article 2. And you don't get to do it with your binky right next to you, your big white blankie for every interview. That's what he is.
At a fundamental level.
I used to have a big white blankie that I carried everywhere. He happens to be white, and he is her big white blankie that she needs in order to talk to the press.
Tim Walz, the big white blankie of the Midwest. What's so astounding here, specifically on the interview and the debate front, is that at a fundamental level, the only skill that is required in politics is that you be able to speak. That's it. That's how politicians work. That is the instrument that they use. Words, speech. This woman can't do it. Part of the reason that Biden was kicked out is that he could no longer speak. And Biden used to be a pretty good talker back in the day, but now his brain doesn't work anymore, so he failed to speak properly at that debate. Then he was gone. Kamala does not have dementia. Kamala is not 150 years old, but Kamala can't speak. That's why the most famous clips of Kamala's oration involve being unburdened by what has been and Venn diagrams and yellow school buses. And that giggle which is just noise. It's a replacement for speech with incoherent babble. So the only skill that a politician requires, this woman lacks. And it's why she's got to tag team the interview with Tim Walz.
What's going to be really interesting about it is, does he jump in to save her? Because they are going to know that that's fraught. I mean, if I were running for president and I had a vice president, especially a man, but any man or woman sitting next to me, and if I were asked a tough question and my VP jumped in to save me, I would say, excuse me, that one was to me. And I would continue my answer. I wonder whether he'll have the nerve to do it, right? Would he actually step in because he knows that will undermine her, and yet that is his purpose for being there. And also,
of course,
even if she doesn't use the big white blankie in that way, it's half the questions, Michael. She's sitting down with Dana Bash, but she only has to do it for half the allotted time because he'll get the rest.
Exactly. I think the interview, as well as the debate, is a defensive move by the Democrats. They're not going into this thinking that they're going to make big gains with the American people. They're just checking a box. It's the bare minimum you've got to do if you're running for president. So if you can make it even easier by cutting out half of your questions, okay, we'll do that. And you're absolutely right. It's fraught, the notion that the VP, the white man VP in the identity politics of the Democrat Party, will have to jump in to save Kamala Harris. But Tim Walz is so submissive. He's so obsequious. I'm sure that he can do it in a way that will still exalt the Queen Kamala. And even if not, one, they might end up just cutting it out of the interview. That's one of the reasons it's pre-taped. And two, it won't really matter because the media establishment will not focus on it. They'll suppress it. No one is going to be watching this interview from beginning to end. I think you and I are two of the only people in the country probably who will be doing that. It's just about the little clips that are going to go around. So they're going to find one or two good clips of Kamala and they'll check the box that she did the interview and they'll move on trying to get her into the White House without ever really having to campaign at all.
I actually think people will watch this because it's like, can she speak? I mean, we're all wondering. We've been sold this bill of goods over the past 5 weeks. Like, has she been magically transformed? Did she have some interaction with Jack's beans in the beanstalk? Something that would really just be a game changer in her entire personality? Like, I would like to see how she does. I don't expect her to totally crumble, but I think there'll be a higher level than, well, I mean, that goes without saying, average viewership for CNN, which means, more than 3 people will be watching. Right, because it's the presidency. You don't think there'll be an uptick in the numbers, like a significant uptick?
It seems to me that people are decided, and there are something like maybe 7% of voters who are undecided. Maybe they were leaning toward RFK Jr. or something. We'll see how the endorsement of RFK Jr. for Donald Trump works out, even though he's going to be forced to remain on the ballot in certain swing states. So you're talking about a relatively small number of people who are not decided. And a lot of the people who are not decided are not the most plugged in. They're not the kind of people who are going to watch, forget about an hour or 2 hours of political content straight. They might only watch 2 or 3 minutes straight. So I agree that there will be certainly much more interest in this interview than pretty much anything else that happens on CNN. And it's historic in that Kamala's finally speaking since she became the nominee. But I don't think it's really going to move the needle either way. I think if this were a perilous risk for Kamala Harris, she just wouldn't do it.
If you did not vote for this economic downturn, and who did? Well, we know who did. And the high inflation, you might want to do something about it. Right now, you're paying for it at the pump, the grocery store, growing stacks of unpaid bills sitting there. Financial stress can be crushing, and one solution could be donewithdebt.com. Done With Debt created new aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done With Debt can stand between you and bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, stop penalties, and the best news is Done With Debt is accepting new clients right now. But you need to hurry because some of their debt strategies are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Let Done With Debt hit the debt reset button for you and make your money yours again. Visit donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 now. Chat with one of their relief strategists for free. Donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.